Welcome to Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa, episode number 29 for October 30th, 2020. Before I get into today's podcast, I want to go back to December 17, 2019, and Las Vegas Justice Court Judge Melanie ANDRESS-TOBIASSON's testimony before the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline, when Tobiason was questioned by Thomas Bradley, the prosecuting officer for the Judicial Commission, who raised the issue of Judge Tobiason's on-the-record recorded interview with me in May of 2018. That was the basis for the story I wrote that was published by the Baltimore Post-Examiner in January of 2019. The following are audio excerpts from my interview with Judge Tobiason, followed by a video excerpt of Tobiason's testimony before the Commission in December of 2019, courtesy of our Nevada judges. Tobiason's motivation, whether you believe it was justified or not, for threatening Shane Valentine to his attorney was not fully explained by Judge Tobiason when she was on the witness stand. The audio excerpt of Tobiason talking to me during the interview gives a better explanation. The two individuals that Judge Tobiason mentions during my interview with her were Las Vegas Metro Police Vice Detectives Kelly Bluth and Albert Bias. The Las Vegas media representatives who were present for Judge Tobiason's testimony in December 2019, the Nevada Current, and the Las Vegas Review-Journal chose to ignore the threat allegation in their coverage, and hence did not report it in their stories. Apparently, as has been the case numerous times throughout the years, filtering the news in Las Vegas is common policy. Before we start talking, I have to advise you that the telephone conversation is recorded. You okay with that?
Okay.
Okay, and while we're talking...
Not entirely, but that's okay. I understand why.
Okay, do you have a problem with me recording the conversation?
It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, if I end up doing a story after we talk, I'm gonna use what you tell me in the recording as a basis for my story.
Gotcha. So at this time, I call Bluth and Diaz again, and I tell them that he was in court, and as soon as he left my court, he started contacting my daughter. I don't understand why you guys won't do anything. And so there's this part, I'll say it, and I know it's being recorded, but, at the point that this story gets reported, there's certain things that, hopefully we can talk about not discussing just for my daughter's protection,
Okay.
I contacted his attorney because it was now going on a year that I had been calling ICE and that they had done zero, absolutely nothing. So I contact Shane Valentine's attorney. It's about July now of 2016. And because I know that the cops at this point aren't going to do anything, I call his attorney and I said, hey, you might want to get your client a message that if he calls my daughter again, I'm going to take care of it myself. And so he does. He gives him the message. We don't really want to report that. But, I was at the point where I thought if this guy's going to continue to mess with my daughter, clearly the police don't give a shit. They're not going to protect her. I spent a year trying to get them to do some sort of independent investigation and shut these places down.
To be accused of that?
And you told the investigator the allegations that you threatened people is completely out of the realm of comprehension. Do you recall that?
Yes, I do.
Because I would never engage in that kind of behavior. That's what you told them, correct?
Correct.
But that's not true, is it? In fact, you have bragged about threatening people, haven't you?
No.
Did you give an interview to the Baltimore Post-Examiner in 2018? She denies she ever threatened someone. She admits that she threatened someone in a newspaper article, and there's an audio recording of it.
I'm not going to make a message. Go ahead.
Did you give an interview to the Baltimore Post-Examiner in 2018?
Very unfortunately, yes.
And they recorded the interview, correct?
It was a recording of a conversation. It was never intended to be published.
Kim Gambling said that she was threatened by Judge Tobiason. Judge Tobiason said that she's never threatened anybody. I have the right to impeach her statement based on her own words, it's completely relevant to this case. Did you tell the Baltimore Post-Examiner that you were trying to prevent an individual from contacting a member of your family? So you called his attorney and said, quote, hey, you might want to get your client a message that if he calls my family member again, I'm going to take care of it myself.
I know that's what I said, and I also know that I was in a position where I had begged for help and gotten none. Not only had I not gotten help, but I later learned.
So you admit
I didn't
the
threaten
state. I'm not
a
asking you
person
why. I'm not
directly.
asking you
Hold on
why.
a second, please don't speak over each other.
I did not threaten a person directly.
You threatened through his
This
attorney.
person was continuing to contact a member of my family on a day that
Excuse me, if you're going to open the door to a bunch of questions about why this happened, then I get a follow-up. So I would suggest that you answer my question, which is, did you make that threat, yes or no?
it wasn't a threat.
Okay.
Now, to today's episode. On October 18th, Judge Tobiason's mother, Madeline Andress, gave a thumbs up on Facebook to my podcast episode number 24 that is titled, quote, Judge Melanie ANDRESS-TOBIASSON addressed drug trafficking allegations in 2018 interview, unquote. As I discussed in podcast number 24, Judge Tobiason claimed during my interview with her in May of 2018 that allegations of her involvement in drug trafficking were initiated by Clark County Sheriff Joe Lombardo, who runs the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Now, on another matter. According to documents filed with the Supreme Court of Nevada, on October 6, 2020, Thomas C. Bradley, prosecuting officer for the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline, sent a supplemental witness list to Las Vegas Justice Court Judge Melanie ANDRESS-TOBIASSON's attorneys, informing them that these new witnesses are persons with knowledge of the facts relating to the complaints against Judge Tobiason. The additional witnesses include Judge Tobiason's daughter, Sarah Tobiason, convicted felon Mullen Brown, convicted felon Shane Valentine, and convicted drug trafficker Anthony Dana. As I reported in previous podcasts, Mullen Brown is the former owner of the now-closed Top Notch clothing store / unlicensed after-hours club that Judge Tobiason claimed was a front for prostitution, and the same establishment that Judge Tobiason allowed her daughter Sarah, who was underage at the time, to frequent and then work in.
I actually subsequently learned that there were cops who hung out at Top Notch at the club.
With the underage girls.
Mm-hmm. If someone was to talk to Marlon Brown, I'll bet he'd tell him, I actually kind of like Marlon. Marlon actually protected my daughter. Now listen, if my daughter had been 18, I guarantee he wouldn't have. But he used to tell my daughter all the time, he's like, I have mad respect for your mom. She always treated us with respect. And we were in court with her.
Who is this guy?
And
Which guy is this? Who is that guy?
He was a pimp. He was the one who owned Top Notch. But he wouldn't let my daughter drink. He wouldn't let her party. He would let her sit back there and load the hookahs. You know, he let her hang out there, but according to her, he kind of shielded her from the other stuff. You know, I don't think the guy deserves any freaking awards, but I do appreciate the fact he didn't beat my daughter up and put her out on the strip.
His first name is Marlon?
Yeah.
Marlon Brown?
I mean, he protected my daughter more than the cops did, I can tell you that.
Shane Valentine is the person that Judge Tobiason said she threatened through his attorney, and then kicked in the door to his residence, and who Tobiason claimed during my May 2018 interview with her was the pimp who attempted to recruit her daughter Sarah into prostitution. Shane Valentine, according to Judge Tobiason, was also involved in the unsolved 2016 murders of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman. Tobiason also claimed that Sarah Tobiason's best friend since high school Allie Bowden, the daughter of Las Vegas Metro Police Officer Clarence Ty Bowden, was working as a prostitute for Shane Valentine and later for Nehemiah Kaufman, one of the victims in the unsolved murders. As I previously reported, Tobiason claimed in that interview that the murders of Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman occurred at 12:30 a.m. on October 26, 2016, because Allie Bowden had put out a tweet hours before the murders that she, Allie, was brought in and interviewed by Vice detectives on October 25th at about 4 o'clock p.m., who Tobiason claimed outed her as a source of confidential information to Allie and her police officer father. As a result, Judge Tobiason said that the wrong two people were killed, and that it was her and her daughter Sarah who were meant to be killed, not Sidney Land and Nehemiah Kaufman.
Metro was able to call it, I don't care why, it doesn't matter why. Metro finds out that a judge is giving information to the FBI and is able to call the FBI and tell their agent not to get information from the judge anymore about the prostitution activities that she reported to Vice that were ignored and resulted in 3 murders. It doesn't matter why. The fact it happened is the story. Who cares what their motivation is? It's disgusting. Why would they not want me to give information to the FBI about this? Because it makes them look really fucking bad. And they know that the fact that they outed me got 2 people killed. They weren't the 2 people they were trying to get killed, me and my daughter. But it got 2 people killed. I'll tell you, Joe does not want this story out there.
As for Judge Tobiason's connection to Anthony Dana, the convicted federal drug trafficker, as I previously reported, Las Vegas Metro Police criminal intelligence detectives placed a court-ordered dialed number recorder on Judge Tobiason's telephones in 2017, which indicated that Judge Tobiason had communicated with or attempted to communicate with Anthony Dana over 1,000 times from July to December of 2017. The Judicial Commission lists the addresses of all 4 witnesses as unknown. Shane Valentine is incarcerated in Nevada State Prison after he violated his conditions of parole in September of this year. Marlon Brown is incarcerated in Nevada State Prison after his convictions for multiple felony counts in 2018. Sarah Tobiason and Anthony Dana, according to public records, reside in Las Vegas. One more thing I will mention before closing out this episode. On October 13, 2020, U.S. Attorney for the District of Nevada, Nicholas Trutanich, took time out of his busy schedule to view my profile on LinkedIn, which was 3 days after I had posted to my profile the link to podcast number 23 titled, quote, FBI agent lied about contact with Judge Tobiason, unquote. U.S. Attorney Trutanich has never explained how a 5+ year Las Vegas FBI investigation into the 12-year continuing criminal sex trafficking enterprise of Jamal Rashid, also known as Molly Mall, ended last year with just a single pre-indictment plea deal for Rashid, and no indictment for corrupt Las Vegas Metro police officers that he was allegedly paying off. After sending women across the country for the purposes of prostitution for years, U.S. Attorney Trutanich gave Rashid a sweetheart deal of 1 count of operating a business for illegal purposes, and not sex trafficking. Care to explain that one, Nick? As of this date, what we do not know is the status of the Commission's allegations that Judge Tobiason was involved in purported murder plots. As I previously reported, those are criminal allegations and would be investigated by the Las Vegas Metro Police Criminal Intelligence Unit with or without the assistance of the FBI, not the Judicial Commission. Upcoming podcasts will cover more stories on the now 4-year-old unsolved 2016 Land Kaufman double homicide, the FBI Las Vegas Division, Judge Tobiason, and much more. Follow Truth and Consequences with Doug Poppa on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks for listening.